shorter here. So this is a little tall for me. I'm used to moving around quite a bit, and my voice typically carries because I have teacher voice. So I might, I feel constrained right here. Okay, so my name is Timaree Hagenburger. I'm actually going to grab, since I can't see the presentation, I will grab my notes here. Okay, so I am a registered dietitian, and I have a master's in public health, and I teach at, Donna, do you need? I don't. Okay. Oh, okay. And I teach at Cosumnes River College. So, hi. So I am going to talk about digestion today. So, and I do have a book that's a cookbook that I'll talk about later, but right now the most important part of this is digestion. So you may be thinking, oh my goodness, what is she going to talk about? Well, dietitians have no problem talking about things that people usually don't talk about. So this is everything you probably would want to know, but we're afraid to ask. Now, I originally had more than an hour, and then I was told just a couple days ago that I had 30 minutes with questions. So this is not going to be constipation. This is going to be more like, you know what. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. So we're going to go through GI basics, very, very basic, and common conditions. Now I committed to from canker sores to constipation. However, we're going to have to skip all kinds of ailments in between. There's just not enough time. I am speaking in Woodland in March, and I'm going to have a much longer time, and I'm going to be speaking about digestion, and so ulcers and gallstones and other things will be covered, but right now I don't have time for all of that. And I'm going to always put in strategies to improve. So let's go to the next slide. All right, so progress through. So this is just to remind you that, so click. You are made up of trillions of cells, and we take this for granted, but each of our cells, even though we can't visually see them, they need both energy and nutrients to thrive. And so whether we're talking about a gorgeous red blood cell or a muscle cell, as long as we can keep the cells at that level healthy, then our whole body will be healthy. So when we think about that, all we need to remember is that we are what we eat. And it's easy to be disconnected from that because my students will tell me, well, I don't look like a French fry. Not yet. And you were not looking inside, right? So we can't see on the outside sometimes what's happening on the inside. So if we remember that we are what we eat, and I specifically used a little person with groceries, right? Not pill bottles. So here we go. Here's a question. Put your thinking caps on. Once you swallow food, it is now inside your body. True. Okay. I hear true, false, true, false, true, false. Okay. The answer is? True. False, but thank you for playing. All right, let's go to the next. Okay, so I will answer this question for you. As we go through the slide, the GI tract, also known as the gastrointestinal, if you go and see a doctor that specializes, it's a gastroenterologist, but this is gastro for stomach, intestine for intestine. This is a long tube. And it may sound kind of boring, but it is amazing, this tube. And as we continue on, this is the most intimate contact that we have with the world. Most people think skin, right, is where we have the most contact. But all the skin and all the tissue in our lungs together doesn't come close to the amount of surface area we have in our gut. We're talking about something around the 2,000 square feet. Just our small intestine, if we spread it all out, took all the little folds out, would just about cover a tennis court, a single person's small intestine. So this is crazy because whatever we put in is going to be an intimate contact even though we don't see it anymore, right? We're putting it in the GI tract. But until it crosses over, then into the bloodstream, then we're in. If we're in the GI tract, it's kind of like you're a donut, and the donut hole is your GI tract. So it may sound odd until you think about who here has eaten something that you should not have eaten when you were little, like a marble or a penny, right? So my son ate a Lego, right? Runs to me and says, "Mom, I ate a Lego accidentally." He wasn't choking, right? So I thought, okay, you're not dying here. How did you accidentally eat a Lego? Well, I was trying to break, it was a little tip, one of those little covers, and I was with my tooth and flink, and I swallowed it. Now, where was I going to go to look for that? My husband actually said to me, have fun with that one, babe. Why did he say that? Was I expecting to get it out of my arm or ear? Toilet. No, toilet, right? Through. So unless there was something wrong with maybe a little twist or turn in his small intestine that got stuck, it was not going to be absorbed because we don't have the enzymes, the chemicals we need to break down plastic. So we don't have the same thing for pennies, for marbles. So we have to do the digestion part first, break down, and then the absorption part. Okay? And so we'll continue. If you can't absorb nutrients through the wall of your GI tract, then you will die unless they feed you through your veins. And so we do have hospital patients and outpatients that are fed TPN, which is total parenteral nutrition, where we feed them through a port, a vein, but that is not the preferred way to get nutrients. And we have lots of issues with bacteria because our gut is meant to be used. So continue here. We do have some accessory organs, beautiful liver. That's, we have liver, pancreas, and that's the beginning of the small intestine. Okay, so we'll keep going. So I promised you canker sores. So let's keep going here. Mouth, we're gonna take this little journey. So teeth and tongue, we're talking about physical digestion as well as saliva. Now the best thing you can do, so if you're thinking about take-home points, chew. Okay, that is the edge. And if you already eat a whole food plant-based diet, best thing you can do is to make sure you're chewing your food well. Because we do have enzymes, but chewing your food not only helps absorption, increase absorption, but it also tells your brain that you're getting food, and it helps you feel satisfied and satiated. But if you're not chewing well, then you're gonna potentially lose quite a bit of those nutrients through the GI tract. So if you're not chewing well, do that mindfully. Now, saliva, as I had mentioned, moistens food and there's some chemicals in there. Keep going. Oh, we did it too fast. It's all right, no worries. So, canker sores. A lot of people struggle with these, and a lot of people don't realize that dairy is a huge cause of canker sores. And what happens is our body, we actually can absorb some of the cow milk protein right through the mouth, and then our immune system says, wait a sec, that's foreign, and starts to attack and will ulcerate the skin in our in the mouth. So they've had several studies where when people stopped dairy, canker sores went away, and then had struggled. So if you're on the fence about dairy, a lot of people kind of wait on that one, that I can give up everything but dairy. And if you're kind of wondering, this is another reason why you may want to let that go. All right, we have an epiglottis in the back, which is a little flap which covers our esophagus into the stomach when we're breathing right through the trachea, and it covers the trachea when we're swallowing food or water. So if you try, it works great unless you try to confuse it and laugh and eat at the same time, right? We've all done that where, and the best thing that you can get out is wrong pipe, right? So that is when you confuse that little thing, and what happens is fluid or food gets into the lungs, and then we cough and cough and cough and cough and cough. Unless you're not strong enough to cough and cough and cough and cough and cough, and if you are deconditioned, which a lot of people in nursing homes are, then you end up with aspiration pneumonia, which happens very frequently, especially with stroke patients who lose that fine motor, the control of their musculature in their throat, and so they don't even realize their gag reflex often is not where it should be, and so fluid just goes right into their lungs, and it's very difficult to have it come out. All right, Heimlich maneuver, we know all that. Okay, let's continue on. So, esophagus. We'll go through this whole slide real quick. Food just passes through. Most important thing here is there's no digestion or anything, it's just a passageway, except for, click the next, is this here lower esophageal sphincter muscle. It's a little muscle that sits right here, and that is responsible for keeping food down when it should be down, okay, and not allowing it to reflux back up. Now, most people in my classes know that word reflux, only not because they're medical doctors, but because they watch television. And every other commercial seems to be for reflux, right? This is GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease. Well, when that muscle gets relaxed, then it allows acid content, the stomach, to come back up. And the esophagus has no protection against the acid. The stomach is meant to have acid in there, so it's very well protected unless there's an ulceration, which we'll talk about in Woodland. But in the esophagus, we don't have any protection. Acid's not supposed to be there unless it's an emergency, right? And you eat poison and you have to throw up. But it's supposed to be a one-way valve. But if every day acid rises up, then it starts to really irritate that esophageal tissue and puts you at risk for something called Barrett's esophagus, which puts you, it's precancerous lesions. So we'll talk about that a little bit. So keep going. All right, question, thinking caps. Are you ready? Which of the following have been shown to promote heartburn or GERD? Now, we used to call this heartburn because it hurts, and it hurts here. It has nothing to do with the heart, okay? It just happens to be right in this area. What people should be saying is, oh, this esophageal burn's killing me. But nobody says that. Okay, so what do we think? Spicy food? Orange juice? Tomatoes? Peppermint? Do you notice there is not an all of the above? Okay, the answer is, click on the next slide, click again, peppermint on that list. That's the only one shown to relax that sphincter muscle. Now, if you already have irritation, then it may hurt to put acid on that irritated tissue, but as far as relaxing the muscle itself, then we're talking about these things. So we have peppermint, click, click. Don't hurt the messenger. Chocolate, click, click. Alcohol, click, click. Coffee, I'm telling you, don't hurt me. Click, click. Nicotine, no worries. Click, click. Animal products, large fatty meals, keep going. Obesity, tight-fitting clothes. Lying down after eating, and the big one is constipation. Okay, so what we see here, and click again, is people complain about burning, it can scar, bleed, it can cause a hoarse voice, it can also spur asthma because the acid comes up and irritates, comes back into the lungs and irritates the lining of the lungs. And all of these large fatty meals stay in the stomach for longer, and so they'll trigger, and they also will talk to this lower esophageal sphincter to trigger to relax. Tight-fitting clothes and obesity along the lines of pregnancy as well, where it's just physically pushing on the stomach and pushes that pressure up. Same thing with lying down. So every Thanksgiving, someone at almost everyone's house overdoes it, right? And it's got the, I got the heartburn, running around. I'm gonna go lay down. No, Cousin Ed, do not lay down. Because when you lay down, then gravity pushes against that lower esophageal sphincter. All right, so what can we do? So how many of you know someone who has acid reflux right now? Okay, so first thing you can do, lift the head of the bed by 4 inches. Okay, stable on blocks, not pillow, because you know what happens with pillows, you know, they roll. Lifting the head of your bed. We also see the next is strawberries. Strawberries have been shown in studies to reverse precancerous lesions of the esophagus. okay, which is pretty amazing because they did it with dried strawberries. I mean, it was not even like some crazy extract. And in 80% of the patients, they had regression of these precancerous lesions, and 50% of the patients walked away disease-free. Okay, after I think 2 months of strawberries. And then big is fiber. That's a bean. Okay, all right, we love beans. And the fiber is going to help with constipation. So what is, and we can talk about this actually with the constipation. So the stomach, so the lower esophageal sphincter muscle is here. Can everybody hear me, or do I need to stand behind the thing?
Very effective.
Just talking.
In the back.
Okay, good. All right, teacher voice works. So the stomach, and we can click again, is a muscular holding tank, holds about 4 cups, but is about the size of a fist if you don't have food in it, right, people say. But it has, holds 32 ounces. So what happens if you have a hard poop, right, hard stool, and you're pushing, that pressure actually can force the top of the stomach up through the diaphragm and cause a negative pressure that pulls acid up. That's called a hiatal hernia. 1 in 5 Americans have hiatal hernias, okay? Yet in areas of the world where they're plant-based, it's 1 in 1,000. Okay, so huge, huge, huge. So lots of people have this, and they take all these drugs that help try to move things through, but that's the issue. It's actually from constipation, pushing, pushing, pushing. Okay, so we'll talk more about poop, constipation. All right, small amounts here. We'll go through this super fast. Small intestine, very long. Let's keep going. Enzymes work. This is the most important part of the of the GI tract, no question. If your small intestine does not work, or if you've had it cut out because of cancer, if you lose enough, then you have to go on that vein feeding, right, which is the TPN typically. So this is where if you spread it out, it would cover thousands of square feet. All right, keep going. This food's in here for about 3 to 10 hours. Keep going. This is what it looks like. I tell my students, if you were in my class and I was Miss Frizzle, if I was the magic school bus, some of you know this little. So if we were on an adventure and we were in the GI tract, you would not wonder, are we in the large intestine? Are we in the esophagus? You would know we were in the small intestine because of all these folded walls, the villi. Okay, so we have these finger-like projections which allow for absorption along all sides versus just a tube, right? So, and then all of these villi have microvilli, which you see here, and again, your life depends on this. Your connection with the outside world is 50 millionth of a meter thick, less than a tissue paper thickness, because we have to be able to absorb nutrients and water, okay? So it's easy to injure our GI tract. Okay, next. Large intestine, okay, is also called the, don't click it yet, colon. Excellent. So click. All right, so let's keep going here. Digestion, no enzymes. Closest thing we get to digestion is done by bacteria. Now, that's a whole nother talk, but there are, what we understand, 1 human cell for every 10 bacteria. So you are only 10% human. Did you know that? Okay. So this good bacteria, you've probably heard a lot about prebiotics, probiotics, but the good bacteria feeds on what? How do you keep those good bacteria healthy? Fiber. Yes. Okay. So some of you have taken my class and you're like, yes, it's fiber. That's right. Okay. So absorption, there's no villi. So the last thing we really deal with here is water. And I tell my students, you do not want to absorb all the water. Because if you absorb all the water, then that means you got hard poop, right? We want some water in that stool. So if you're not drinking enough water, then what can happen? The body's going to say, I need some water. It's really nice for you to have a relaxing pooping situation, but that's not my priority. I need the water. And so it'll pull water from the waste, and then it's going to be harder to evacuate. So let's keep going. So that's the evacuation part, right? This is fun. So continue on here. Does stool size matter? I know, this is what you don't want to hear, but you do want to hear, right? Yes. You know what Dr. McDougall does a great job with this. He has this in one of his books. Click again. He has this picture of little poops equal big hospitals. And big poops equal little hospitals, because that's what we see. We see that little poops mean longer transit time and major health problems. And we'll talk about that next. And big poops, easy elimination and healthy bodies. So what should you be shooting for? And Dr. Greger's great about this. 1/2 pound of poop a day. So you can weigh it on a scale. I mean, weigh you on a scale before and after. Don't weigh poop on a scale, okay. Let's continue on. Next. So, you already know this, but what is the answer to this? Dehydration can lead to blank as the colon absorbs more water to meet the body's fluid needs. Constipation. Now you know why, right? Okay, so next. So constipation, we got to get through this constipation. And I want to talk about diverticulitis, but I don't think I'm going to have a chance. Dry, hard, infrequent stool. So how can you get constipated? Ignoring normal urges. We've all had that, right? We have a little kid behind the couch. What are you doing? Nothing. Little one, right? You're trying to get them, let's go in the bathroom, sweetie. It's going to be better if we go now. I'm good, right? And they think if they squeeze those little butt cheeks hard enough, it'll go away. And it does, temporarily, right? I mean, but after a while, then you know it's so hard. Okay, muscle spasms, some meds. Meds have so many different problems, and constipation's one of them. Low fluid intake and a specific nutrient deficiency. So think about that in your brain. Keep going. Can also lead to other problems. This might surprise you. Hemorrhoids make sense, straining, right? Varicose veins, did you know that? The pressure backs up into the veins from pushing. I already talked about hiatal hernias. Diverticulosis, where the pressure is so great that it pushes out little caves, little outpouches in the large intestine, and then things get stuck in there, and then you get it infected, and that's diverticulitis. And that will bring a big man down, okay? Our neighbor, 6'4", big guy, passed out because of the pain. Had to call 911 when they didn't know what happened to him. It was diverticulitis. And then breast cancer. Did you know the link between breast cancer and constipation? I'm glad you're here. Okay, here we go. Can you poop every day? Don't push it yet. And still be constipated?
Yes.
Well, if you're pooping every day, then how's that constipation?
You might be pooping just a little.
Okay, good. Yes, you can. And the scary thing is, you can be 5 days late. That means you are pooping out what you ate 5 days ago. That's average for someone who eats animal products. For men, you're 5 days late. For women, you're 4 days behind. Scary. Especially when I tell my students, I start with my students, and I haven't done this yet for this semester, but I say, okay, so think about what you eat, right? Let's say I ask them, what was the greasiest thing you had yesterday? Oh, I had an In-N-Out burger and double. Okay, take all of that, and instead of eating it, put it all over your body. Mush it up and put it all over your body, and then just sit there, right? They're like, oh, no, that's nasty. I said, that's what's happening inside. You may not see it, but that's what's happening. And then when we get here, I say, and guess what? You got to do that for 4 days at room temperature. Really? I don't think I want that. Okay, keep going. So what do? High fiber, plants strong. Animals have zero fiber, plants have fiber. Animals have bones to hold them up, plants have fiber. Okay, keep going. Only 3% of Americans eat enough fiber. Yay for us, because it's so hard to find plants, so hard. Okay. I mean, you can't find them for the life of you. So, beautiful picture. That recipe is in my cookbook. Keep going, keep going. Beans, we love beans. Fluid intake's important, exercise is important, flush your risk. What's the concept here is that when your body naturally, your liver detoxifies, takes extra cholesterol and estrogen and puts it into the GI tract, waiting for the fiber to whisk it away. Unless you don't eat the fiber, and then all of those poisons get reabsorbed into your blood system. So when you are constipated, all those toxins your body's trying to push out are getting reabsorbed. And we see those concentrate in the breast tissue at 100 times what we would see in the blood. Okay, and so we see this. So if you don't want breast cancer, you work on that constipation hugely. Okay, that's a big one. Keep going. Now, just a little food for thought. Colorectal cancer, 3 times the risk of colorectal cancer, and these are big studies, epic studies, 500,000 people, with fish or chicken once a week. Okay, keep going. Pancreatic cancer, 72% increased risk with as little as 2 ounces of chicken. Okay, and these are, pancreatic cancer is 95% death rate. We know that. Keep going. Anybody have irritable bowel disease? Keep click. What could you eat? It's really hard to find. It is kiwi. Have you ever seen one of those? Yeah, kiwi.
Tasty.
They're awesome. Yes, and they grow them in Loomis. If you haven't, where the mandarins are, they grow the kiwis. Okay, keep going. Oh, back real quick. 1/4 cup of beans per day reduced in a big study, cancerous polyps by 65%. I know 1/4 cup is a lot of beans though. Oh my gosh, I can inhale those, right? In a second. Okay, keep going. Diverticulosis, we're gonna skip this. This is important, I'm gonna talk about it in Woodland. Let's keep going. Scary, that's really scary. We already know all this. Okay, click. Last slide is me. Okay, can you love the food that loves you back? Absolutely. Yes. Okay. So click on this. How? The Foodie Bar way. Okay, so I am so excited because I have been working since I was maybe 6 writing recipes. And on Thursday, yes, this past Thursday, 2 days ago, my first book arrived to my garage. Okay? So I am so excited. It's called The Foodie Bar Way. And it's not granola bars, okay? It is set up, one meal, lots of options, so everyone's happy. You set your meals up like taco bars so that everybody gets a choice. So we have every bar, there's 32 bars. My husband said, okay, you're gonna have to think of a way to get these recipes out. Why don't you just come up with, we do bars all the time. When we got married in our reception, we had a pasta bar, because we didn't want everybody to have cold food that was sitting there. So you went up like Marie Callender's old omelet bars, remember? Where you say, I want this and this and this. I want that kind of pasta and I want that kind of sauce. Well, that was 15 years ago. So this has come back. My husband said, why don't you just maybe write out 5 bars? I said, okay, so I'm writing. I came up with 100. So there are 32 in this book, and then there are 94 recipes that support those bars, so that you can make all kinds of options. And there's the basic bar for each bar for my students or anyone who has no time, cooking skills, money, and then raising the bar, got the bar, raising the bar, is for if you want to make some of my recipes like garlic mushrooms or, some of my sauces instead of a store-bought, marinara. And so then each also has a place for you to write everything that you did that worked great, because, teacher, you need to have space to write. And then an example of a recipe for people who need a recipe for that bar. So I hope that it gets people, I don't think I have anything else below. Oh, I might. Yes, purchase your. That's important. You got to ask people, I guess, to buy things, right? So, but what I want more than anything in this world is for people to cook together and enjoy the food that loves them back. Because that makes, you have so much power in your fork. I'm sorry for talking 100 million miles an hour, but I hope that you'll maybe come see me in Woodland. And then in the future, I'm going to be speaking all over, and this is what I do. 17 years of teaching, and I love every day.